Swirling, we're getting ready.
There we go.
Hey, open mic night. All right, Chris. Oh, I missed the pour. The pour sounded so nice. I was laughing all the way through it. I was cackling. I don't know if the audience got to hear how lovely that was. Chris, I realized as I'm scrolling through our Facebook page that I do almost the same face, just from a different side each week. So it's actually pretty hilarious because we have so many now. The beer opening, and I'm like,
yeah, I can't look because it always looks like I took a stroke. So
oh, no,
catch a picture of me, I'm always like,
I'm so sorry. Chris, that's actually not true. There are plenty of wonderful still images of you throughout our many, many live streams. It's just that anytime I ever did an ad with it, I was trying to make it funny. So I captured a...
This is not my best side.
Are you kidding me, Chris? I mean, you're just effortlessly handsome and cool. Just perfection.
Okay, well, we're moving on from that.
We are.
Michael White is out there. El Jefe, Miguel Blanco is out there. Welcome back, Michael. Of course, Mom's here.
Mom is here.
Well, Dennis is going to be on here next week, I think.
Yes.
Christine.
That is Aunt. That's my aunt, Christine. Christine.
Hi, Aunt Christine.
Yeah. the family comes usually about every week. Well, the mom and dad are always here. I think have had 100% attendance. Hey, Philip J. Curtis. Perfect.
And hola, back to you.
Great to see you guys. We are so excited. It's not our real official welcome yet, but as you know, this is our open mic night, and we're going to have 7 readers for you tonight, 5 from the community of our MFA program and 2 special guests. So it's going to be a real treat. It's always such a pleasure to get to have multiple readers joining us and to hear everything that they're going to share. So it's going to be an awesome night. How about the sunshine this weekend, Chris? Right?
How about even now? I'm not used to this happening when it's still kind of light out. It's disorienting.
It indeed is disorienting, and a happy daylight savings to everyone. I hope that wasn't too rough on people this morning. And sort of speaking of which, it's almost our anniversary as a live stream. We've been doing this just about every week for almost a year, and we'll be celebrating that with our reading on Sunday, March 28th. And actually, it's been approximately a year that in our region in Connecticut, that we've been quarantining. It was kind of the beginning of all those shutdowns. So, friends, community, we've made it. We've made it this far. Hopefully you're all getting your vaccines or getting in line to, registering so that you can get them soon. And, we'll be just celebrating all of this great time together and all of these readings and getting through this rough time together.
2 weeks from tonight, we'll be doing that. We got some fabulous guests who are going to come on and help us celebrate.
We do.
We got Yana and LaRue. We're our very first readers on here, other than us.
Aside from us.
The great Baron Wormser.
Yes.
We've got from California, Sarah Sleeper. And Mr. Pete Nelson, who's joined us just a little bit ago. He's in the house. And he might be singing us a song.
Yes, we're excited for that.
Pete says he's got both his shots. Who wants to make out? Well,
I feel like a lot of people are going to be saying that as they get the vaccine. Just, as soon as it's safe, I think we'll all be wanting to, really cut loose and go a little wild.
Yeah.
Do a little making out.
I only got one shot, so I can only kind of, I don't know, a little peck on the cheek.
Give you like a side hug, maybe.
No making out. Yeah, side hug.
Side hug. Oh my God. Anyhow, it is officially 7:00, so we'd like to give you all an official welcome to open mic night. We've got 7 readers with us tonight, 5 readers from our MFA community, and 2 special guests joining us tonight and sharing readings will be David Legere, Jolinda Hockaday, Robert Piazza, Susan M. Davis, Erik Schurink, Sarah Balsley, and Michael Dunaway. Very, very exciting. Invite your friends and family, share the link with them on Facebook or YouTube. And let's have just a really fun night of hearing what these writers are going to share with us. It's going to be fabulous. And Chris, you were just mentioning what is coming up next week.
The party is in 2 weeks, but next week.
2 weeks, true.
We've got the great Elizabeth Kirshner, and the poet laureate of Ridgefield, Connecticut, Barb Jennis. So, who will be our 3rd poet laureate that we've had on here, if you include former poet laureates. But
yes,
I don't know, maybe we've had more than that. Anyway, that's next week. So we're back to girls' night next week because we were like very determined to get some boys on tonight.
We had a lot of wonderful featured women. We did International Women's Day.
It's fantastic. Believe me, I'm not complaining. But I felt a little underrepresented as a guy. I wanted to get some guys on here, so. And we have a few down the road too.
We do. And we're very excited to welcome all of our guests, friends from our community who have books coming out, special guests, returning friends, and also we'll be having 2 readings where the finalists for the Fairfield Book Prize will be reading from their work. So that's really exciting. We'll be, welcoming them later in the season. And, Chris, we're getting close to 7:05. I think we should welcome up our first guest and share his bio. All right, let's bring. Okay, so our first guest of the night is David Legere. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. David, it's Legere.
Yeah, you got it.
David
I'm so sorry. I should know that.
It's a French mouthful.
It's a French mouthful. Fabulous. Welcome, David. We're so thrilled to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And if you remember, audience, David was with us on pub night because he's from Woodhull Press, and he's our friend over there. But we're so excited to have him reading from his own work tonight. And Chris, can you share his bio with us?
Absolutely. David Legere, as they say, is a publishing professional with over 12 years of experience in the U.S., specializing in the trade, nonfiction, gift, and outdoor markets. He has worked with a vast network of industry professionals and published hundreds of titles ranging from recent celebrated nonfiction like Fast Funny Women, a hilarious collection of nonfiction essays edited by Gina Barreca with notable contributors like Judge Judy and Susan Shapiro and Faye Weldon. Also from that to award-winning fiction like The Astronaut's Son, Forward Indie Award winner, and Connecticut Book Prize finalist by the great Tom Siegel, who's also been on the show. Mm-hmm. He holds multiple degrees in writing and publishing, and he is also a dedicated English professor. And he works as a editor, publisher, Man About Town at Woodhall Press. Woodhallpress.com. And you can also find him at dllegere.com.
Fabulous. Welcome, David.
So thank you for having me. Part of it is, as you're reading that, I was thinking a lot of publishing stuff, but not a lot of writing. So I wrote this for tonight for you all. It's called Craig Has Goats. The waiting room at a doctor's office is generally the same wherever you go. Fluorescent lighting overhead emits a soft buzz, and there's always a stack of outdated magazines, things like People, Vogue, and Cosmopolitan, with headings like 6 spicy ways to bring the fire back into your bedroom, 12 tips to losing that belly fat, and 5 ways to tell if they're cheating. Is it any wonder that people in relationships never feel like they're doing enough? Music plays overhead, usually something classical or mid-90s pop, but rarely anything contemporary. TLC's Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls played as I stared at the empty seats and the noticeable lack of magazines. I looked at the plexiglass divider in the center of the room, at the blue chairs next to me marked with X's and red tape because you couldn't sit on them. There were very few chairs without X's, maybe 4 out of 20. I wore a yellow sticky note to my chest that read 96.3, scrawled in the handwriting of the receptionist, my temperature. Wasn't it supposed to be 98.6? My mom always said I ran hot, that I got it from her. Sleeping lovers embraced me in the winter, yet pushed me away in the summer. I ran hot. 96.3, cold. What else didn't I know about myself? The receptionist sat behind her own plexiglass barrier, tapping at keys on a keyboard, each click a little more forceful than the last. That at least reminded me of a doctor's office pre-2020. But then she noticed me watching and met my eyes. Was she smiling, scowling, indifferent? I had no idea because we were both wearing masks. In fact, I wore 2 because it was 93% effective against COVID. A nurse entered the room. David? I nodded. Follow me. I entered another waiting room. The doctor will be with you in a moment. She shut the door before I could say thank you. The sterile room had no personality except for a single yellowing poster on the wall. It showed a man in his mid-40s, dressed like you'd imagine someone at an accounting firm. Dark slacks, white button-down shirt tucked aggressively, horn-rimmed glasses, and black shoes. He looked sad as he gazed at a distant sunset, or sunrise, depending on your perspective. The sign read, "Do you have erectile dysfunction?" then listed the symptoms. I thought of my grandfather Jerry. We sat outside of the banquet hall on the stone steps of my college graduation party. He put his thick arm around me like he was about to pass on something that had been passed on to him for many generations, and I listened eagerly. "Don't eat bacon," he said. "Kills your dick." The next words came out slowly with deliberate care. "I miss having sex. It was one of the great joys in life, and I haven't had sex in years." Years. Then he got up and walked back inside. He was gone now, and I wished I had another memory of him after that, some other piece of wisdom. But I was mostly a vegetarian, and I thought about him whenever I saw someone eating bacon. "David?" I sat up straighter, as I always do when in the presence of a doctor. I felt like a kid again, getting called on by the teacher. "Yes?" "I'm Dr. Fitz." Fitz. That last name felt familiar when I scheduled the appointment, but it crashed on me in that moment. "You wouldn't happen to have known a Carmen Fitz?" The doctor's eyes widened with surprise, and he said, "Carmen was my brother." I immediately felt bad as I saw the pain on his face through the mask that he wore, the tightening of his eyes. Carmen had recently passed away. I saw it on Facebook. "How did you know Carmen?" "I worked for him through high school and a little bit of college, Fun Times Video, back when video stores still existed, although I read somewhere that a Blockbuster remained in Alaska. Carmen had been like a mentor, teaching me about sales and life and girls and, most of all, confidence. He'd always had so much confidence." Dr. Fitz nodded and visibly swallowed before he replied, each sentence progressively shorter than the last. "It's been a long time since he had that store. He passed away from cancer. 18 months. Metastasized." And just like that, his life ended in one word: metastasized. I had to look up how to spell it. I nodded somberly as if I were just finding out the news. I could have said I knew already. I could have said I saw it on Facebook. I could have told him that I hadn't spoken to him in 20 years, how I'd found him on Instagram after I heard one of my brother's friends had hired him for some design work, how I reached out to say hi, and how he replied back kind of stiffly, coldly, like he thought I wanted something. Maybe he'd held a grudge that I'd quit so many years ago. I didn't know. Well, we weren't friends on Facebook. I looked him up one day because I noticed his Instagram hadn't been updated since he'd gone into the hospital. A public post said he'd passed away. An online service was scheduled. I'd missed the service by 3 days. I'm sorry, I said. He was a great man. Thank you. His voice shifted to something more professionally friendly, slightly higher in tone. So, what brings you in here today? I got a pain in my ass. Oh yeah, work? I laughed. That too. I think I've got a hemorrhoid. Well, let's take a look. He handed me a blue gown. Stripped down, it ties in the back. Just knock on the door when you're ready. I sat unmoving after he left. Stripped down? I guess I knew I had to get naked, but yeah, okay. I took off my clothes and carefully folded them as if my blue jeans and hoodie cared if they were folded. My bare feet on the cold white tiled floor made everything seem more real. Tying the gown in the back took me longer than I thought it would. I knocked on the door, letting Dr. Fitz know that I was, at least physically, ready. Okay, he said as he entered. Hop up on the table and turn to your left. It was all happening so fast. Where was the dinner? I did as he instructed, and the next few minutes blurred as he had me lay down on my side with my ass exposed to the room. I know he said something about lubricant, something about a slight pinch, something about a little pressure, something about, yeah, who knows? Next conscious thought was a question. So tell me about yourself. Up to anything good lately? What? Up to anything good lately? Good. This man was rooting around in my ass while I laid curled in the fetal position, facing an eggshell white wall with a suspicious brown stain inches away, trying to pretend I'm anywhere else in the world, and he wanted to have a conversation. Like a dentist drilling for a cavity, asking me if I had any fun trips planned, he wanted to chat. I blurted, more of a gasp really, Craig has goats, which was the only thing I could think of while trying to sound conversational, as if this sort of thing happened all the time. But it didn't, and why was I trying to pretend that it did? Why did I care so much in that moment that I sound like a guy having a walk on a Sunday afternoon? Because the alternative was to acknowledge that I was bare-assed in front of a stranger that was the brother of my old boss, who sort of snubbed me before he passed away. And if I didn't hold on to some semblance of normalcy, then I was going to scream into both of my face masks. Who's Craig? Tell me about him. One of my friends from college. Yep. And why does he have goats? That was a question that I didn't even think Craig could answer. Because he went crazy? Was I going crazy? He just really enjoys farming. Does he have a farm? Not really. So where do the goats stay? Kind of just wander around the yard? That's fascinating. Was it? Why did I think of Craig's goats in that moment? Because probably I'd heard from another friend that he had hemorrhoids. Craig, I wasn't alone. There were others, and I wasn't the first in my friend group. Okay, he said, I think we're all set here. You can sit up. I did, forcing myself to maintain steady eye contact, even though I wanted to run from the room. I'm going to prescribe you a cream, and remember to drink water. Water? Dehydration, he barked like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Maybe it was. Wintertime is hemorrhoid season. So I have one? Yep, you should be all set in about 2 weeks. Okay, I guess. He scribbled the prescription and handed it to me without fanfare, then turned to walk out of the room but stopped. I half expected him to say something sort of lame but funny and reassuring like, shit happens, or will again, but he didn't. I realized I'd had 2 different doctors, 2 different men, one a grieving brother and the other a professional. I'd interrupted the professional when I'd asked about his brother. The routine came back when he made the joke about work, a joke he probably said a dozen times a day, but just then his voice shifted back to the tone of a grieving brother. He said, thank you for asking about him. Then, almost as an afterthought, don't be embarrassed. It's common. Most people experience it at least once in their lifetime, and with luck, only once. So drink water. But remember, he opened the door and said with a hint of the professional, even Craig has goats. Thank you. And
that was great. I'm drinking water right now.
I'm about to switch, I'm afraid.
I was getting very uncomfortable in my seat.
David, that was absolutely delightful. So much fun, so much, imagery, so funny, but also so tender at the same time. Thank you so much.
So many great lines. Don't eat bacon. I think I'm going to get like a bumper sticker.
That
Thank
was
you.
too funny.
Thank you for
Oh,
having me here tonight. And you'll have to guess whether it's fiction or nonfiction or ask.
ooh.
Is,
We
is that
will,
a
we will.
donut you're sitting on?
Is that a donut you're sitting? That's too funny. Well, David, you'll definitely have to go and see your comments on Facebook and YouTube later. You got a lot of love out there. Everybody really enjoyed what you had to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right, let's bring up Jolinda Hockaday. Welcome,
Hi.
Jolinda.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and read your bio and
Okay.
introduce you to our audience. Okay, here we go. Jolinda Hockaday is a retired New York City Department of Education teacher. She has participated in New York City Writing Coalition, TCRWP, NYC Writing Project of Lehman College. Ms. Hockaday is a Toastmaster, CC, mentor, coach, and motivational speaker with John Maxwell and Empowered Living. Welcome, Jolinda.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that bio too.
Yes, thank you. And we will leave it to
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jolinda Hockaday, as you heard. I participate in reading and writing workshops. So I did participate in one, and we produce Corona City, Voices from the Epicenter. And we know that last March, New York was the epicenter. I wrote, and I'm featured here in this anthology on pages 57 through 59, and which I will read. So the title of my piece is COVID-19 Musings, Another 24 Hours. Quarantine, shelter in place, lockdown, pandemic 2020. What gives here? I am already quarantined for many years. But on March 14th, 2020, a clear move by our elected officials closed down the country, the state, the city, and the town where I live. It was unprecedented. That since when does the city close down the MTA and the LIRR for cleaning, for disinfecting, or sanitizing? Or since when did the New York City Department of Education shut down? Never, ever. Unheard of, even for major snowstorms, hurricanes, or inclement weather. It just does not happen. The city never sleeps. The city never shuts down. 9/11 shut the schools for one day only, and the airspace for one day only. Imagine that. But COVID-19 is different. People were leaving Earth in record numbers. In March, April, and May, this scene repeated itself over and over and over again. Couldn't contain it, couldn't understand it. Childhood friends, some older, some younger, and some the same age, were gone in an instant. We heard the news of one loved one who had succumbed to the virus. A day later, another one, and then another one, and still another one, all within days. And the next news came, they didn't make it. They're gone. The shock did not wear off. My auntie, who was 90 years old in Cape Cod, she didn't make it. My oldest son's godmother, Aunt Aura, she's my same age. She didn't make it. Fellow teachers from the school I retired from, they're gone. Loved ones from church. Saw them last Sunday. This Sunday, we're preparing their funeral. Sunday school teachers, assistant ministers, and pastors, all gone. Even my ex husband got the virus, but his life was spared, thank God, as he recovered miraculously. Working in the hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in New York City, he had to get it, but I thank God he made it. So here I am, quarantined due to COVID-19. As a recent retiree from the classroom of students that I loved and cherished so very much, but last March, browsing online, I came across the Empowered Living community that was sponsored by Paul Montanelli, my mentor. He was just sitting on his balcony taping a live event, and that live event was the sunrise. He lived in Jupiter Island Beach in South Florida, not far from Palm Beach. And he said he just got an inkling in his spirit to tape the sunrise and to post it on the Empowered Living platform. And that he did. I saw the palm tree branches. I saw turtle nests. I saw sand. I saw beach, all included, breezing and swaying in the wind. I later learned that the CEO of Empowered Living was taping this majestic event from his balcony for 45 minutes every morning, rain or shine. We had just completed the 100th day landmark when I wrote this piece. My birthday on June 27th. What a blessing. I have been captivated. I am intrigued. I am spellbound, almost hypnotized by the daily sunrises that I watched for 100 days. And by the way, I still watch them. I'm an ambassador. I encourage other people to do the same thing. The circle of club members grew from a few hundred on that very first day, March 14th, to over 2.7 million to this date are watching the sunrise from Jupiter Island Beach in Florida. This event is governed by law. The sunrise, Paul tells us, is governed by law. The sunrise, the sunset, the sunrise, the sunset, as the rhythmic sounds of the ocean, the waves ebbing and flowing, the fireball in the sky appearing, whether the sky is blue, gray, the skyline demarking the horizon, the palm tree branches waving, swaying and bending to the gentle breezes off the ocean, and sometimes not so gentle. The turtle nests hatching on the sand and quickly crawling into the ocean to escape the birds looking for a meal. Wow! We are growing in great numbers each day, witnessing this gift of another day, another 24 hours, breath in our lungs, giving thanks for another day, a new day, together rejoicing in the handiwork of a great creator. Together we testify to the greatness, the vastness of the ocean, the waves, so soothing, so relaxing. It is a sunrise, but it will put you back to sleep. The faithfulness of the gift of that new day to get it right, a second chance. We have all been witnesses of the greatest designer, the greatest painter, the greatest artist, and all of nature enjoying another 24 hours of life when so many did not wake up. They did not get this second chance to witness the sunrise, a new sunrise, another 24 hours, to open their eyes, to put feet on the floor, to see a new sunrise. When I see the new sunrise each and every morning, it's been a year now, I say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. I'm alive. I have purpose. I have vision. There's a reason for my living. I have a why. I have a raison d'etre. And I have a rendezvous with destiny. I see a new sunrise, another 24 hours. Thank you.
absolutely gorgeous, Jolinda. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh my God. I mean, I can't think of a more perfect piece to hear on tonight. It's been literally a year, March 14th.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that. What a beautiful message of hope and gratitude and healing. And you so perfectly captured the tragedy of living in that epicenter at that moment, and then just this gorgeous imagery of the sunrise and that message. Thank you so much. Applause.
Hold up that book again.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. It's called Corona City: Voices from the Epicenter. There are like over 100 stories in this book about how people were coping with coronavirus when we found out that everything's halted. We were on the pause and reset, and how to handle it. So there's a story in here about a woman who was about to give birth. There's so many wonderful, wonderful stories in here.
That's great. Check it out, everybody.
Yes,
Absolutely. An
Corona
incredibly
City.
important book.
All right. Thank
My
you, Jolinda.
editor was Lorraine Ash. She's the editor of this book.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jolinda. And you have to go on later to Facebook and YouTube and see all of your comments, all of the love people gave you. Thank you so much, Jolinda, for sharing. All right, Chris, it is time to bring up Robert Piazza. Hey, Robert.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
How are you?
Good. Really good.
All righty. I'm going to read your bio. Rob Piazza is a poet and classical guitarist.
Awesome.
That's right. He recently completed his, and well, too bad he wasn't there when we were there, right?
I know, we could have played together.
He recently completed his MFA in creative writing at Fairfield University. Congratulations. Currently, he teaches literature and composition at colleges and universities in Waterbury, Connecticut. His poems have appeared in Mystic Blue Review, Halcyon Days, Society of Classical Poets, Haiku Journal, Poetry Quarterly, Founders, Favorites, and The Lyric. So, welcome, Robert Piazza. Take it away.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Katie. Thank you both for having me here. I really appreciate it. This is an awesome venue, and thank you so much for your service to our community, doing this for the whole entire pandemic. It's incredible, really. So a lot of gratitude. I'm going to share 4 poems tonight, and they're all relatively short. The first 3 are sort of like sonnet-ish in length. The first and the last poems, the opening and closing, are sort of more upbeat and positive, and then the 2 middle poems are a little heavier, a little darker. So we'll go on a little journey there. The first poem is called Commuter Buddha, and it comes from a time when I was commuting back and forth from New Haven to New York City, and sort of to my surprise, I found the train ride to be like this amazing respite or meditative experience in the midst of the day. I noticed other people were in that zone too. So anyway, this poem kind of arose from that experience. It's called Commuter Buddha. So, what if life were like the view from passenger trains riding west? Tiny train set villages gliding past windows unmolested by me or you. Memories flit across the tranquil mind, images on the tracks of time. Perfect detachment from the past, entire worlds disappearing faster than our eyes can blink. More quickly than our minds can think. Sit back, close your eyes, relax. Let the universe recede on tracks. Okay, the second poem is a dramatic monologue, and it alludes to Greek mythology. This is sort of retelling a scene from the Odyssey, but in a modern voice. So the title is called Telemachus Confronts His Deadbeat Dad. Telemachus confronts his deadbeat dad. And now you want me to pretend you never left me, never went away? Pretend you taught me how to play with slingshots, swords, and spears? Ignore the sorrow of 20 years without a rudder, master guide? Forget the nights I lay awake and cried? Forget the constellation of fears that threatened portents from the sky? Deny the scorpions raging in my heart when I heard that you had died? Pretend I never missed you for a day? Pretend your absence never hurt while I fed your wretched horses? Old man, I greet you with curses. This third poem is also a dramatic monologue, loosely alluding to Greek mythology. It'll just touch base on the story of Narcissus and Echo, which Echo was Narcissus' wife. There's a little content alert here. There is some violent imagery that'll pop up. So just so you're aware of that. The title is Wife of a Narcissist. Wife of a Narcissist. I won't pretend you didn't beat our son with Sunday's paper. I won't pretend you didn't piss inside the laundry hamper. I won't pretend you didn't chuck your briefcase through the wall and tell me to fuck myself. I won't pretend you didn't wreck my brother's lawn. I won't pretend you didn't whack our puppy with a hammer. I won't pretend you didn't slash our tire's neighbors. I won't pretend you didn't pass out in our daughter's bed. I won't pretend you didn't screw the new aerobics trainer and steal profits from your ex. And no, I won't deny that like an echo, I come back to you to reconcile through sex. Okay, so those poems were a little heavier, as you heard. This last poem to end on is much lighter and ends a lot happier. Something positive to leave with. And it's a little humorous piece in a way. It's sort of Freudian wish fulfillment. It's titled Dream Home. Dream Home. I'd like to have a king-sized bed so she can't yank the blankets to her side. I'd like to have an outdoor shed to hang up pictures of folks who've died. A garage to park my car inside so it doesn't leak every time it rains. Ceiling hooks so frying pans won't collide. A fireplace to melt my ancient pains. A writer's loft where I scribble poems like Hemingway's Treehouse in Key West, accessible only by footbridge from his room. A place where I can drop the world and rest. A place where I can be myself, a boxing gym with weights and heavy bag. My favorite books upon a shelf, a ring outside for chopping logs. Gas jets on the burners of the stove, a porch for eating lunch outside, a double shower for making love. Basically, I want a place to hide from the world with all its cares and woes. A place surrounded by mountains and trees, a place at the end of a long dirt road where I can flaunt it naked in the breeze. And so those are the 4 poems I wanted to share tonight. Thank you all so much for having me here. It's been a real pleasure. Appreciate it.
Woo! I want to flaunt it naked in the breeze.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. Oh, Robert, such powerful stuff. Great poems, incredible imagery. We're in all of these different scenes. Such excellent, excellent poems. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed those so much. And you have to go on Facebook and YouTube later and see all of the comments people shared, the quotes. I especially love that repetition of I won't pretend. Oh, I love that. And I could totally relate to the commuter Buddha.
Oh, I know. I've been there.
Yep. Thanks, Robert.
Thank
All
you. Thank you.
I'm going to bring up Susan M. Davis. Thanks, Robert. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm going to share your bio with our audience. Welcome back, I should say.
Right.
Our right, let me introduce Susan Davis to you. Susan Davis is the author of the memoir Where There's Breath, There Is Life, published by Adelaide Press. And she has a collection of poetry, Lipstick Lesbian, due out in November 2021. She shared with us this quote. She got her BA from the California State University, Fullerton. She got her teaching credential at the same place. She has 3 master's degrees, a BA in educational counseling, an MFA in nonfiction, an MFA in fiction, and she's working on her 4th master's in poetry, all at Fairfield University. Such a rock star. She has 4 published essays. Is that correct, Susan?
That's correct. Yeah.
With Adelaide Press.
And the Gay and Lesbian Review.
That's correct. 3 published with Adelaide, 1 published with the Gay and Lesbian Review. She lives with her wife, who suffered and survived a twice ruptured brain aneurysm, and she is currently working on her 2nd memoir, Being Gay in a Straight Woman's World. And we've been told that perhaps this reading tonight will be a little bit spicy.
Oh.
It had to follow the kissing you opened up with, and then some of Rob's, and great night to read it.
Absolutely. All right, we'll leave you to it, Susan.
Okay, thank you. So this is called A Letter to My Ex. Anyway, here it goes. You had a hold on me that I wouldn't understand for years. You coerced me to swear secrecy, that I wouldn't tell a soul about us. You were married to a man, and you had 2 small daughters who you didn't want to lose custody of. Lying to me was part of your genes. I thought my innocence was being invaded, and it was. Every Monday became our day to play. On the bowling lanes for a lesson, then an exchange of $5, and at last my bedroom week after week. I learned to wear sexy clothing, and you would slip my peach lace bra off my shoulders. After igniting nipples with your tongue, you would slide your fingers down my pants and take everything off. My pubic hair was standing on ends at times. My little fluff ball was desperately waiting for your soft, gentle fingers to enter me. Soon, 1 finger wasn't enough. You went to 2. I wanted more. Eventually, you could slide nearly your entire hand inside me, and my dripping wetness covered your fingers. You loved the dripping, sweet, smelling sight of me. I wish I could tell you in person, but after 27 years later, a letter will have to do. When I was 20, there was an opportunity to meet professional women bowlers in Downey, California. I quit college so I could become a professional bowler. You were on lanes 23 and 24, and I was placed there too. I bowled well that day and asked if you would be interested in coaching me. You had to ask your husband and 2 daughters. I was excited to think there was a possibility of having my own bowling coach. I left the University of Southern California, USC, to become a bowler. Perhaps not the brightest idea at 20, but I did it. Eventually, you became my coach for $5 a month, and you gave me lessons, and I was on a high. Every Monday we met, and the lessons began. You were so smooth in your delivery. Your slide and follow through were amazing to watch. Your fingertip holes, drilled by one of the finest ball drillers in town, only on Mondays became my theme song. Lessons by a professional bowler. Little did I know that our lessons would become more than bowling lessons. They became lessons in lesbian sex. The $5 I paid you each week must have meant a great deal to you, because after my bowling lessons, you introduced me to sex. I acquiesced. As I lay on my bed week after week, you reached over and unbuttoned my blouse, again slipping off my straps of that peach lace bra. One breast was uncovered, and I was mesmerized watching your hazel green eyes looking at my young body. When both breasts were in the open, for all your pleasure, you let your fingers do the communicating. Your sweet, sensual swag of your tongue on my breasts and a fire deep within my groin. Taking me to my bedroom at my parents' home where I live became a weekly love-making session for us. My sacred bedroom where I wrote, read, and spent hours on the phone. You were now in my space, and I loved it. Your baby lotion that was slathered on your entire body and the Jean Nate perfume lingered long after you went home. It was all over my bed. I would smell it at night as I put my head on my fluffy pillow. You first taught me that touching my bare, young, peachy colored breast would ignite a wetness I had never explored before. Yes, the wetness dripped down my legs until I screamed. Being new to this, I wasn't sure what to do to you. Certainly didn't take long. I was fully invested in you, your breast, and the orgasms you experienced every time I was in you. Your turn. I would unhook your bra in the front. Did you buy the bra for our love affair? Did you let your husband use his manly hands and unhook it too? I hope it was saved for the innocent me. I wanted all of you, but only on Mondays when you were available. You had to wash up at my house so you wouldn't smell like sex as you rushed home to meet your daughters in their little brownie and bluebird uniforms as they arrived home from school. I worked second shift at a bank, so I had time to think about us on my drive to work. A 35-minute drive with the Bee Gees blaring More Than a Woman throughout my car speakers allowed me the chance to simmer in our lovemaking before entering my straight world of banking with 30 people. Was it written on my face? Would my coworkers know what I had just done with you? You played the part well. Dinner on the table for 4, acting like the perfect mother and wife. Everyone loved you. Miss Apple Pie was your nickname. Skiing trips with the kids and your husband. Holidays on the slopes. And where was I? At work or at home with my parents. You and I shared holidays such as Christmas and our birthdays in a shopping center, in our cars, parked near one another, and joining in one car, exchanging our gifts. We bowled together in the Los Angeles Women's All-Stars on Tuesday evenings. We were able to paw one another in your 1967 bright yellow Firebird. I often wondered if I left your black leather seat wet after you dropped me home at my parents'. Wouldn't that have been amazing if your husband had felt a wet seat? You have said we were like a glove in a hand. We went so well together. There was definitely truth to that. Your hand, my hand, two wet vaginas screaming as loud as they could. How did you face him every night? You told me you would not divorce him until your daughters were both 18. They were 6 and 8 when we met. Doggy style was his favorite position, you told me. I could visualize you on all fours and him pounding you with all his force. I asked you daily if you had sex the night before. If you said yes, you always followed up with telling me, well, at least I wouldn't have to have sex with him for a while. How was that supposed to make me feel better? It didn't. His penis inside you, and then the following day, my soft, wet tongue diving into your vagina and having you come in my mouth. Did you think that was pleasant for me to think about? You told me for over a year that we were not lovers. We were just two women who loved one another. You knew how to touch my body so tenderly. How could we not be lesbians? Of course, I believed you. I was still young and naive. Sorry about the dogs barking. As we continued our love affair, you eventually came clean. You had a lesbian lover in high school who became your maid of honor at your wedding. She followed you guys halfway up the mountain on your honeymoon. Your husband had to pull over. You got out and ran back to see what she wanted. She was in tears. She didn't want you to be married. Getting back in the car with your new husband, your lies began that very day. You were caught by the police having sex in the back of your family van with a woman you bowled with long before you met me. Scared to death, you begged the police not to call your husband. You were parked on a residential street. Someone had obviously called the police. Eventually, your husband was told about your first lesbian affair. You talked your way out of it. Even your parents were told. Again, you got out of the accusation. Then there was the aunt. You were best friends with a woman who was married with 2 children as well. A great cover-up for the both of you. Your daughters called her Aunt, but I think we both know she wasn't the aunt, nor even a blood relative. She was your lesbian lover. Yes, 10 years you covered up that lie you were living. You were never caught with her. You both lived the lie and went places together, all while your family and girls were thinking you were with their aunt. You left her but remained friends when you enamored me, the innocent 20-year-old. Oh, and you were 33. Didn't anyone wonder why we were together so much? How did you explain all this to your husband and daughters? That's right, you lied again and again, over and over. The lies were told and believed. We were able to go skiing together with other lady friends in the family van. No one even thought to ask about us. There were usually 6 women on the ski trip, but I was a special one. We were fucking all the time we were alone. People never expected anything, I guess. 5 years later, I was still your mistress, the innocent young girl who had learned what 2 lesbians could do. I even taught you some sexual ways that you had not experienced. You were my one and only. 6 years into the love affair, I think you seemed nervous. Your husband might be suspecting something. We were more vigilant, which upped my sexual game. The fire inside of me was no longer embers. I had the entire flames igniting my clit every single moment we were alone. I wanted you so badly. I was willing to wait until your daughters both turned 18. Remember our sex question, the one I asked you daily for 6 years? I finally realized, in essence, you were still fucking your husband, who was a teacher, who supported you and your 2 daughters while you were making love to me as often as you could. Your stamina was amazing. Did your clit hurt after I had you in the morning and then your husband had you later that night? The following year, I called one evening. We would talk 1 or 2 hours. Your husband answered the phone and didn't hang up. He found out our secret. Your divorce happened. It took about a year, but you and I were finally able to live together. We bought a house, and your daughters were beyond furious with you and me. Your family hated me because I was the reason for your divorce. So they thought I was really the scapegoat. But you never revealed who you truly were. Many women crossed your path, the high school lesbian lover, the bowler in the van, the aunt, and there was also a teacher you fucked one summer. We lived together, but you told people we were roommates. Your lies continue. Your family obviously knew, but not your friends or your teachers you taught with. But they only knew about one woman, me. Eventually, I decided to leave I'd had enough. The final straw was the non-invitation to your daughter's wedding. She lived with us half the time, and it was truly humiliating that I was asked to not attend. After 2 years of weekly therapy, I had the guts to leave the woman I fought so hard to have. After 3 years of living together, there was no more sex for me. I was repulsed, actually, by your touching. I imagine that happens when you have waited so many years for someone and had to keep the secret for so long. You asked me why I was leaving. The list is long. You kept me hidden. You made me the scapegoat for all your previous lovers, never mentioning them to your husband or daughters, family, and others. We couldn't take a professional picture of the two of us and hang it on the living room wall. Others would see it. It wouldn't be fair for your daughters to have to explain it to their high school friends. I was told I wasn't invited to your daughter's wedding, yet the girl's so-called aunt was invited because no one knew you fucked her as much as you fucked me. I finally found my peace. After 16 years, I left you. I was 36. You were 49. I guess you wanted it all. I once loved you beyond words. However, I was happier when I had you only on Mondays. Thank you.
Wow! Susan, whoa. Yes, Chris.
Oh, I warned
Good
you.
Lord.
Incredible, Susan. Absolutely captivating, scintillating, steamy.
Well, thank
Do you
you.
have a-
I've never
is
written
there a
it. I
title?
finally wrote it.
Is there a title?
Yes. Dear X, because it's a letter. It's for
I
a
think you should call
writing
that
competition.
Sex and Bowling.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It originally was only on Mondays, but I wrote it for specific.
Oh my God, Susan, what an incredibly powerful piece. This whole
Thank you,
story of
Kate.
all of these years of your life, all of these observations. You got to go later, of course, and read the comments on Facebook and YouTube. People were totally captivated and were just stunned by this character and by what you went through in this relationship. In addition to, well, that's how you know that imagery was effective.
Well, thank you both. It was an honor to read tonight.
Thank you, Susan. We love you. And Philip
Love
J.
you too.
Curtis, is in the comments too. And
I want to write something with him.
You've upped the ante, Susan. You have upped the ante. I'm afraid for when Philip comes back on.
Thank you both. Love you. Thank you.
Love you
love
too.
you, Susan. Oh my goodness. Yeah. We need to get Philip back and see what's gonna happen next.
Woo!
Woo. Well, Chris, we are welcoming our second special guest of the night, Erik Schurink. Let's bring up
That's
Erik.
right.
Welcome, Erik.
Hello, everybody. What a warm-up act that was.
That's right.
Also
You know,
excited
you
to
write
be
with
here
constraints.
in this gathering.
You do this poetry with constraints, so I'm thinking you get like a poem about some like handcuffs or something like that.
Yeah, creative handcuffs.
Yes, we go. All right, Erik, I'm going to read your bio here. Erik Schurink is a language artist with a preference for writing with constraints, as I just said. He curates and leads monthly Writhing Society workshops. Now, that's not a typo. That is Writhing, TH, Society workshops at Brooklyn Central Library. His poetry and other writings are featured in 13 Writhing Machines, AMP, Always Electric, Upstart, Journal of English Renaissance Studies, Cryptozoo, Proteotypes, and Abecedarium, NYC. During the pandemic, he self-published The Secret Garden Out There, a collection of book spine poems. You can get that you can go on our website because there's a whole bunch of numbers. But it's at blurb.com, and then go to our Facebook page,
Facebook page.
and you can see the link to that. All right, Erik,
All right,
take it away.
will do. I'll be reading a number of poems, and they're all written during the pandemic and inspired by it in some cases. Two of these short poems will be were written like 2 weekends before COVID entered our awareness. My attic. Pandemic life is an attic going out a rickety staircase. The memory of before merely thin air without decorum. Sunshades when sunny, check. A coat when cold, check. Rain in the forecast, pack a poncho just in case. My legs these days a ladder to pump room and air handlers. My blood coursing through walls, stillness fogging my windows. Yet I will go out, incognito, to listen to the birds flying over my skylight. One of the silver linings for me was to discover the joy of watercoloring. And beyond snowscapes and Zoom portraits, it has yielded this poem. A world of burnt umber and so much more than lead white. If the sky looks ultramarine and you feel down, burn some sienna and mix it in. The gray will feel warm. Brush it up in the freezing rain. Burn umber if you like your grays a bit cooler. Splash in the puddles on your way. Take in the motor oil rainbows. Honor the gift of snow melt you just received and walk on through the slush of muddled pigments. A clean brush can't be far off. There is a stream out there trickling from the mountain top you try to get to. I know, I'm trying to get there as well. Let's keep on tracking with our portable watercolor kit in our pockets and the cold press watercolor block under our arms. The ashen sky is on our minds like stones, like bones, and we're thinking, oh, paper, how do I lift stains from you? Wouldn't we rather celebrate the growths from earth tones like ochre clay, the hues of sand, the sounds of shells washing ashore, and the windswept woods of forbidden greens, with canopies hiding frigid creeks, so clear no artist would want to wet his brush into its wilderness, its rapids, to rinse reds rarely revealed. Now, before the pandemic started, I had a really good time stacking books into small poems. I did that in bookstores and libraries, at friends' homes and airports, where I was waiting for boarding the plane for the gate to open. With time on my hand during the pandemic, I self-published the book, The Secret Garden Out There, which Chris told you about. Chris asked me to say a little thing about constrained writing. It's a form of writing that basically has the writers invent ridiculous constraints to write a sensical text with. The Oulipo is a group that started this in France, or at least made it popular. And here in Brooklyn, there is the Writing Society, which meets at the public library, Central Library here in Brooklyn at Grand Army Plaza. One famous constraint is write a text that makes sense without using the most common letter in the alphabet. In English, that is the letter E. And a book has been written that way, where the only E appears in the writer's first name, George. Another constraint is the cento, which uses available text to compose a poem. And the type of cento that I write is book spine poems. You see an example of such a poem right here. I'll be reading 3 short poems created this way. And the first 2 I wrote at the airport while I was on my way to Minnesota to visit my daughter who lived there. The night window. Since we fell, we were the lucky ones, the perfect couple, lost in the cabin at the end of the world, becoming the border, the brink. I often think something marvelous is about to happen. I'm a frog singing the living tradition. Where there is no doctor, cure the little prince thinking systems, the whisper, the way things work, stumbling on happiness where the sidewalk ends. And here the poem that I just showed you behind me. Dear sir or madam, the secret garden out there, 100 doors speak bird by bird. Silent to the bone, what do you want? This next poem is inspired by Giuseppe Arcimboldo, the Renaissance painter you all know about as he paints portraits using fruits and vegetables. Arcimboldo, what you are missing. You bark a blend of milk and dark to please, the whole gift basket with easy access to your cargo, your vehicle filled with oil and sea salt. What are you missing in the raised dimples of the tender apple and pear halves, sweet and chewies in this world of winches? Visit your alehouse, get to know polar bear, a welcome guest at any party imperfectly balanced. Allow the air to circulate from both sides of 21. Wrangle with cocoa and hummus on crackers. Bring them together to see steps actuated when the doors open and close to open and unwrap the sweet smell of truffles, including milk, spicing the input for all your excursions over land, by sea, in flight. Celebrate and share with natural light centered around trash bags filled with landing pads, the juice, new and hot. You are slowing down. We are breathing life upon delivery. Oh, God of no comparison, God of gourds and grapes, beans, wheat and peas, chin of chestnut, pumpkins, plums, apple cheeks and pear nose, God of blossoms. Planets floating over petals, bees, the table is set. Take a seat, dessert is onions and starfruit. The scent of glistening olive juice, pitted, firing, feeding royal to soil, to root new trees, apple or passion fruit or fig, the bite, the urge, the cover-up, pollen, dripping down your lower lip of cherries, down your chest of orchards, and audiences undone. A classic pairing, the gift of rebirth. And I will close with a love poem and a haiku. Dandelion. Was it you who saw me looking, how to embody a splash? Or was it I who saw light and water reflected in your stamped face, the ephemeral captured? We met on the peninsula, I emerging from the dark forest, you from a crack in a clearing with your tender straw sipping from the bedrock in celebration. You drank from soil feeding your seed head, your tufts ready to fly off in the direction of my wine-fused breath, those tender manes fertilizing the hills, wishes, and perhaps the lake I traveled by canoe. What you say of me, peddling swirls, twisting, dripping droplets into plops, momentary stems, syncopating with reedy loon calls, breezy blown leaves, and my hair rippling in the rhythm of the rain. May I have this dance? You the bomb, all mine. I'm yours, you blow me away. Hold me, not too close. Thank you.
Nice.
Awesome stuff, Erik. Oh, I love those poems.
Oh, glad you like them.
Oh, absolutely incredible. The imagery was so powerful, so gorgeous. Thank you so much for what you shared about these new forms, the poems with constraints. Such a pleasure to hear. And the poem about the paintings and the still life with the fruit, just like luscious imagery and just powerful feelings. Great stuff.
I know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. To a
Fun to
friend's
share
house.
them.
I can't wait to go to like a friend's house and rearrange their books.
It is so much fun. I'm telling you, it's so much fun. That's the biggest miss I have in this.
Right. I bet. That was so much fun to hear those poems too.
It really, really was. And I love that haiku there at the end.
Good.
Thank you so much, Erik. Erik is another fabulous friend that we have met through Lona. Lona has introduced us to so many wonderful friends.
Yes, right. Lona.
She's out there watching.
She is out there watching. Erik, you got to go take a look at all of your comments later.
We're aware of this community.
Yes, we're so thankful for that. And we hope to have you back again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Erik.
Thanks, Erik. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read Sarah Balsley's bio for you all. We're so excited to welcome Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, it's darker where you are than it was before.
Well, it got a little darker.
All right. Here we go. Sarah Balsley writes deeply personal essays about everyday struggles. Her work reminds us we are not alone. Sarah has worn a lot of hats. After graduating from Yale, she ran an ad agency, raised 4 kids, and managed a successful landscape design practice. She practiced writing for a decade in women's writing workshops before pursuing her MFA at Fairfield. She has published her essays in Brainchild, on NPR, in Greenwich Country Capitalist, and recently at tonight.com. She has recently begun working with an agent with an eye toward publishing a collection of essays. Good luck, Sarah. Her work can be seen on her website at sarahbalsley.com. So thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for welcoming me, Chris and Katie. It's really nice to be back in the community.
Yes.
And I really appreciate the opportunity to read a piece tonight, or possibly 2 short ones. This is a piece I wrote maybe 2 years ago, and it's called Soup. I can't tell you exactly why I photographed each of my parents dead in their beds. It seemed important not to let such a moment go undocumented. What if you wanted it back? What if you wanted to see your mother slurp soup one last time, like she did that last day when she was barely alive? As soon as I saw her, I knew she was dying. Her hands were swollen to twice their usual size, their long elegance replaced by swollen fruits. Her mouth was open, her eyes closed, and she made a sort of low moaning sound that reminded me of a sound I'd make if I were trying to manage great pain or a great process like labor. A doctor came and took her pulse. It was so low that protocol required that she be transported from the nursing home to the hospital. I begged mercy. My mother needed to be done with hospitals, with nursing homes, done with the long process of dying. It had already been years. The doctor said she would let her be if all my siblings agreed. I sat on my mother's bed a long time, holding her hands. I carefully updated her about each of her children and grandchildren in turn, a final accounting of sorts, to assure her that her flock was safe. I said I could keep watch now. I suggested that maybe it was time for her to go and be with Dad and my brother Brian, who had drowned as a toddler on the terrible day when she turned and answered a ringing telephone. A health aide bustled into the room and wanted to give my mother some soup. I was annoyed by the interruption and wanted to wail, "Soup? You think she's going to eat soup? Have you looked at her fruit hands, heard her ancient dying sounds? I don't think she's in any condition to eat," I sniffed. She will eat, smiled the lady, sphinx-like. She loves to eat. You'll see. Did these ladies own my mother now? Had I given up claim to her by not being here enough? Had they stepped in to rub her feet and feed her soup? I took my shame down the long linoleum hall, past the occasional wafts of human excrement and disinfectant to the family room to call my siblings. On the way back, another health aide greeted me. You must be Barbara's daughter, she said. You look just like her. This was unnerving. Everything here was unnerving. The fluorescent lights, the elementary school decorations adorning the hallways, the fact that the patient names were written on whiteboards on the bedroom doors, so easily erased. Before I arrived, someone had parted my mother's silver hair straight down the middle and made two tiny French braids starting at the crown and traveling back toward her ears in a deep V. I admit she looked cool, like an ancient Nordic princess with her high cheekbones and long nose, but I didn't like it. It was nothing like what my mother would ever have worn. It looked like she was being dressed for a ritual. When I returned to her room, Mom was propped up against her pillows, a towel draped across her chest and lap, slurping soup off a spoon held patiently to her lips. She was not passive about it. Her lips actively searched for the spoon she could no longer see, like a baby searching for a nipple, eager for the flavor, eager for the nourishment, the pleasure of the weak broth on the warm spoon. She sucked the soup into her mouth, feeding herself, feeding her body. I was stunned to see this. My mother was too frail to speak more than a word or two, too frail to keep her eyes open, barely alive, yet here she was, eating soup. Was this the body's reflexive drive to live, or was this my mother's determination to stay, her desire for comfort or for one last pleasure? When it was time for me to go that evening, I lay my chest to my mother's chest and kissed her cheek and whispered, I love you, in her ear. She could no longer form crisp words, but sort of sang it back to me in 3 syllables, so I understood. My mother didn't see another dawn. By dawn, she would be dead, her silver hair brushed out on the pillow. I'd taken out the braids before I left and dampened her hair and smoothed out the kinks. Now I wished I hadn't. Now, in the photo I secretly took when my siblings and family finally left the room, and that I secretly keep on my phone, she just looks like a little old lady dead in her bed. Now I wish I had sent her off with her silver warrior braids intact. I wish I had dressed her in deerskin and beads, given her a bow and arrow made of birch and silver, and a white fur blanket, and a thermos full of soup. And then I thought I might read a very short piece that I just wrote, really like 2 weeks ago, because I think it's just timely in terms of what we're facing about kind of leaving this period of sheltering in place. And it's called, I'm Not Ready for Spring. I'm not ready for spring. These words have never come out of my mouth before. Every March, I kneel down to welcome the first crocus, gasp with delight when I glimpse the yellow witch hazel blooming in the thin, cold light. But this year, when I saw the tips of the daffodils pushing up through the cold mud, my reaction was, oh no, please not yet. Winter has often been hard on me, with the long darkness shutting down the light. The isolation of COVID only increased this threat. I tried to stay busy, working hard on my writing and taking care of my family, but I knew that if I wasn't going to be able to get out and do things and see people, I would need something else to beat back the darkness. On some life-saving instinct, I signed up for 2 art classes. In one, we draw detailed portraits in charcoal and graphite. In the other, we paint loosely with lots of color. The spare bedroom is now full of art supplies. Enormous cold-pressed sheets of archival paper, graphite, charcoal, inks, erasers, brushes, and a big easel. I absolutely love it in there. I draw or paint something every day. The art has cracked me open, and something long buried is coming out. This quieter, more solitary winter has done me good. For years, I faced outward, reflexively trying to please everyone. I spent so much time keeping up appearances, hair, nails, face, body, house, car, garden, and keeping up functionally, working, writing, volunteering, exercise, entertaining, reading, news, social media. I spent so much emotional energy caring for my family, one child and another and another and another, nurturing, consoling, feeding, one eye always on the horizon, scanning for danger. But during this long COVID winter, by which I really mean this whole last year of sheltering in place, I let go of so many of the extraneous things and my gaze softened and turned inward. My guard came down. I filled the time I used to spend pleasing others, mostly nurturing myself. As a result, I seem to be remembering something vital, and it might just be who I am. Once in a long ago winter, I was so hungry for spring that I tried to plant sweet peas indoors. I bought heirloom seeds and pressed the wrinkled brown orbs into pots filled with fragrant soil. I watered and waited and waited and watered until magically tiny sprouts appeared. I cared for them day by day as they grew into sturdy, upright seedlings. On the first beautiful, warmish day, I took them outside like babies and lovingly set them on the rock wall for a few hours in the sun. I didn't yet know that seedlings must be acclimatized slowly, brought out only for an hour or two at a time, first in the shade, strictly protected from the breeze, exposed a little more each day. My seedlings, which were bright green and upright in the morning, were bent over, weak and pale, by the afternoon. I guess this is what I fear, that what has taken root and sprouted in me in this dark, year-long winter might not yet be sturdy enough to withstand the light and air, the chatter and the busyness of our metaphorical spring. Thank you very much, guys.
Sarah, so powerful, so captivating. Oh,
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Incredibly gorgeous.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you again, Sarah. I'm so glad you were able to read with us tonight. Two incredible essays.
Thank you so much.
It is great. I mean, we've had several COVID-related pieces tonight, and you want to see them all in one collection.
Right? Yeah.
All these different perspectives. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's such an unusual one, sort of like, wait, not yet, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's so much to be happy that we're leaving, but there's also some things that we gained, right?
Yep. Oh, for sure.
Yes, this sense of retreat, of exactly how you described it. It was so perfectly captured.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. We'll have you back.
And yes, just an absolute pleasure to have you. We hope Sarah can come back. Can come back soon.
Definitely.
And now we'll be introducing our last guest of the evening, our an FUMFA friend, Michael Dunaway. Hey, Michael.
Hey, feel free to cut that bio really short if you want. It's been and we're over time already.
Oh, I can read.
No, it's a rock
can read
star
fast.
bio.
I'm gonna crank my way through this sucker. You watch. All right.
You need all of those. Everything.
I might edit Zac Efron out. But anyway, Michael Dunaway is the editor-at-large of Paste Magazine and the founding partner of Gasoline Films and of Poitiers and Dunaway Motion Pictures. He is the director and a writer, producer, and actor in 6 Love Stories.
Incredible.
Which stars some amazing people: Peter Bogdanovich, Carrie Preston, Stephen Tobolowsky, Alicia Witt, and others. He was the producer and director of 21 Years, Richard Linklater. I want to see this one. A Gravitas Ventures release. I have not seen this. With stars Matthew McConaughey, Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy, many others, including Zac Efron. And he was a New York Times pick, which debuted at number 8 on iTunes. He was also the producer and director of The Man Who Ate New Orleans, with Oscar nominee Morgan Spurlock, Emmy winner Natalia Livingston, and other people. Previously, he was a producer and director on several shorter projects, including serving as segment director on Frank Kelly's groundbreaking film 140, which won the Bronze Palm at the Mexico International Film Festival. His short film Bread won the Best U.S. Narrative Short at the 2011 Rome International Film Festival. He gets around, let me tell you, which is where it premiered. He was an associate producer on 2011 Independent Spirit Award nominee and African Election. His current projects include a scripted historical civil rights epic with the King and Poitiers families. He lives in Atlanta with his wife and children. Here he goes.
We're not worthy.
Oh God! Oh God!
No.
So I came to Fairfield to study screenwriting. So of course, most of my thesis is a novel because I can't do anything the easy way. So
somebody got to you.
yeah.
Who was it?
So well, I'll blame Carol Ann mostly because
There
it's
you
not
go.
only a novel; it's a novel with a lot of poetry and nonfiction mixed in it. And so, Carol Ann, if you're watching, I mostly blame you.
Okay.
So the novel is called Bob Dylan Slept Here, and
Ooh.
I thought I'd read this chapter because I don't think I've read it much in Fairfield circles, so maybe some people haven't read it,
Okay,
haven't
take
heard
it
it.
away.
At this point, all you need to know is that our protagonist is Austin Jennings. Can you still hear me? Am I freezing up? Uh-oh.
No,
Uh-oh.
you're great. You're perfect, Michael.
Okay,
Go
good.
ahead.
Austin Jennings, he's a kind of washed up rocker dude, to put it in a short way. He is going on a long road trip that is incredibly painful and incredibly meaningful to him. And he's ended up on this road trip with the 28-year-old daughter of his college female best friend, who was this kind of larger than life figure. And we're already realizing that her charisma's daughter, Imogen, is also following in her mother's footsteps in that way. On my screen, I'm frozen. Y'all can still see me and hear me, though?
Yes, you're totally perfect, Michael. Keep
Okay,
going.
Good. So just send me a text if I'm frozen, Kate. All right.
Don't worry, we
So
will.
chapter 6, Don't Think Twice. North of Gainesville on I-75, you go through a few hundred miles of awfully desolate road before getting to Macon. I mean, as in Valdosta is the major point of interest, desolate. Nothing against Valdosta. Those college kids can party with the best of them, and the campus itself is really kind of pretty. But you don't really take in those experiences when you're just driving by town on the interstate, as I have several dozen times at least. The best you can say for Valdosta, at least as far as the good it will do us on this trip, is that it's got one of about every fast food joint you could wish for right off the interstate, and gas stations that are bunched together enough they can't charge extortionary prices like the ones in East Bumble. Worst of all, those places usually have really crappy coffee too, for the same reason their gas is expensive, because where the hell else are you going to go? And if the best you can say for a day's drive is that the one sizable town you pass through has got lots of fast food and gas stations, usually that day of driving is going to be pretty bleak. But somehow, with Imogen curled into the front seat, riding shotgun, this part of the trip feels great. I'm almost glad there's nothing interesting out the windows. It motivates the conversation more. Got to make your own fun. Okay, Miss Imogen Jones. Oh, they're also both obsessed with Bob Dylan. Okay, Miss Imogen Jones, I begin. What's your favorite Dylan album? Oh, that's original, she says with a snort. What's next? Where are you from? What's your major? What's your sign? It's surreal, that energetic, good-natured ribbing coming out of a mouth on a face so similar to Charisma's, yet so different. I don't really know what to say, so I look over and give her a shrug and a smile. She rolls her eyes. I mean, I love all of them, she says. I even love that weird Carnival Barker character he was doing back in the early 2010s. And that, I don't know, what would you call his current incarnation? Sort of a gentleman riverboat gambler meets Salvador Dali meets Vincent Price? Jesus. Yeah, I managed to say. If I was astute enough to pull all that together, yeah, that's exactly what I'd call his current incarnation. She smiles and blushes a little, then expertly steers the conversation away from my compliment. I even listened to his satellite radio show where he plays all that early 20th century music. It reminds me of the music my grandpa used to listen to. He called it skirt chasing music. Now, this is a new one. Maybe it's just my alcohol and drug-addled aged brain, but I have zero memory of ever in over 30 years talking to Charisma about her parents. Charisma is, or was, a pure force of nature. It doesn't seem right that she would have parents, much less parents that were ever young. Didn't she just spring forth full-grown out of Zeus's head or something? Y'all can still hear me okay? Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, yes, keep going,
Okay,
Michael.
good.
I will let you know if there's any
Okay.
problem. You actually look perfect. The lighting is actually incredible. Keep
Well,
going.
I'm a
You're loving
director.
it. Yep, exactly.
Your mother's dad or your dad's dad? My mother's daddy. I never knew my father's daddy, really. He lived in England and died pretty soon after I was born. Heart attack, I think. I think it really fucked up my dad. Now it's my turn to change the subject. Eventually, I do want to know all these stories, but at the moment, I'm too overweighted already to hear about Charisma falling in love, getting married, and having some Eurotrash asshole break her heart, which, based on the little tidbits I got from her over the years and based on what I know about men, is what I'm sure happened. It feels like something is wrong with the universe, Charisma falling into something as dumb and cliched as that. It'll send me into a flying rage, and I'm positive Imogen doesn't want to hear what I'll have to say about her father. So I try to refocus us. Okay, stop dodging the question, I say with a smile. Gun to your head, one favorite Bob album. Go. What would you guess? Oh no, I'm not going to fall for that one. Tell me. She considers me, with not a small touch of side-eye. You think I'm going to say The Times They Are A-Changin', but that's only my second favorite. My first is Freewheelin'. Of course it is. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? You're young. I'm 27. You're young enough that you think that's not young. Trust me, you're young. Once time has beaten some of the life out of you, you'll still love the early stuff, but the 70s stuff will mean even more to you. But your favorite, she retorts, is Bringing It All Back Home, and that's from the 60s. No, that was Rachel's and my favorite to listen to together. My favorite is Blood on the Tracks. She pauses, not knowing if she should say what's on her mind, but she does. Because of your marriage breaking up. Nope, it's always been my favorite, since I was younger than you even. Back when I was happiest, that's when I was drawn to the saddest music. And now that you're unhappy? Used to be when I was unhappy, I was drawn to happy music, but nowadays, I just want to hear sad sack miserable shit over and over. She pauses again, but it's a briefer pause this time as she begins to catch her stride, get her confidence. That's not a good idea. It doesn't seem like it to you right now, but when you're my age, you'll understand. Oh, when I'm your age. You know, we all think we get older and we get wiser, but what if that's not true? What if we're actually wiser when we're younger and we haven't made 1,000 tiny concessions and sellouts along the way? What if we're the wisest when our ideas are pure and we can think about what should be without learning all about what has to be and why what should be is impossible? I mean, do you feel wiser now? She looks at me, passionate, even a bit red-faced. She's not ranting. She wants an actual answer. I smile and can't hold back a little chortle. What? She says indignantly. It's just damned if you don't sound exactly like your mama 30 years ago. I can imagine her saying those exact words. You even have the same look in your eyes. Stop the car. What? I glance into the rearview mirror. The interstate's jammed with cars, but no one seems to be a threat, no more than any other run-of-the-mill South Georgia driver. I look ahead at the signs for the next exit, but there's nothing there that's unusual either. Austin, stop the car now. Why? I'm serious. Pull this car onto the shoulder right now, Austin Jennings, or I swear to God I'm calling 911. Okay, I say in my best reassuring voice, honed by a lifetime of attracting troubled women to my side. Okay, I'm pulling over. It takes almost a minute before I can make my way across 3 lanes over overly aggressive country boy drivers in jacked up trucks to reach the gravel shoulder. I do and come to a stop. It's not the widest shoulder I've ever seen, and there's a steepish drop off just a foot or so further, but something in her voice tells me she's not in the mood for a road safety lecture. I face her. She's already got a finger up. Rule number 1. I am not my mother. I love my mother more than anything in the world, but I am not her, and I will not be compared to her. Now, I know you and she had this really special bond, and Lord knows I heard enough about you growing up in that house, but I am my own goddamned woman. I am not her. Do you understand? Imogen, I didn't mean, doesn't matter what you meant. That's what you said. Do you understand? Yeah, sure. Because if not, I can get out here and call an Uber to take me to the bus station. Jesus, Imogen, okay, it's fine. Okay, then. We sit in silence in the parked car for a minute. A semi roars past a foot away from my door and the whole car shakes. I keep my eyes in my lap. You know I didn't mean, hush, drive. I sigh, start looking for an opening to pull the car back onto the road. It takes longer than I want it to. Now there's this tension in the stillness, and I just want to be back moving, headed together to a destination, alone in the little self-contained world of my Cadillac. Sitting out here on the shoulder, we belong to the world again, and I don't like it. Mercifully, another semi slows down and flashes his lights for me to pull out. I do, and reach a hand out the window at him in thanks and quickly accelerate to the flow of traffic. But I'm still struggling to find a way back into the easy, fun conversation we were having before. You know, I venture, one of my all-time favorite Bob songs is on Freewheelin'. She's pouting now, hands at her mouth, pulling at her gum, pretending to read the signs out of the passenger window, not ready yet to give me the satisfaction of engaging her. But she can't help herself. Don't think twice, it's all right? Bingo. She squeals, actually squeals. It's so brilliant, right? It's so simple, but so complicated, so wise, so everything. It actually reminds me a lot, I say, of some of the 70s stuff that I love so much. It's almost like it's a companion piece to If You See Her Say Hello. Oh my God, she says, you're right. Almost like bookends. It's like the sentiment in If You See Her Say Hello. It's what he's reaching for in Don't Think Twice, but it's too soon and he can't quite get there. You know, he has all these kind and perspective-filled lines like, I ain't saying you treated me unkind. And well, like the chorus line, don't think twice, it's all right. So he's forgiving her, but at the same time, he can't resist getting some digs in. Like, I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. Yeah, or how about, you just kind of wasted my precious time. Oh God, she agrees, that one most of all. And that word kinda in there. And the way he sort of sings the whole song so offhandedly, like he doesn't want to admit how much it hurts. She pauses and a new light comes into her eyes. You know, I never realized until just now, thinking about those other two lines I mentioned, but in that song, he keeps going back and forth between second person and third person. Some lines are you and some lines are she, almost like he's talking to different people in the same song. Holy hell, that's good, I say. Right? No, I mean you noticing that. I have to have heard that song 500 times and I never realized that. And I write songs for a goddamn living. Well, get used to being amazed. I've got a beautiful mind. I had to agree. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Chris and Katie, for putting this together. And thanks to everybody else for reading. Y'all were amazing.
Oh, Michael. Thank you. I can't wait for this novel, Michael. I'm in this car. I'm in this scene. I'm like watching this movie.
Has Baron seen this?
Oh yeah. Baron was my second reader.
There you go.
Oh, he must be.
He's a good reader for this then, yes.
Yeah, indeed. Baron's a good reader for anything, but especially for this one.
Bob Dylan, this must have been like an absolute pleasure for him to read.
my mentor, my last semester was Karen Osborne, and Karen was just incredible as well. I feel very fortunate to have worked with both Karen and Baron that last semester, and to work with the other mentors that I worked with. Everybody was just fantastic.
Yeah.
For all the non-Fairfield people on the call that don't have your MFA yet, go sign up tomorrow.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. Oh, Michael, it was just such an incredible, excerpt that you read for us. And just the premise of you're having a road trip conversation about Bob Dylan. Like, I want to be there. Like, I want to read this.
Right?
Absolutely. So good. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thanks,
y'all.
Great beer too.
It's trying to get back to your level, Chris.
You'll get there.
Absolutely perfect. Well, thank you so much to all of our readers tonight. It was an incredible open mic night, wasn't it, Chris?
It was fantastico. And as usual, everybody brought their A game.
Just incredible pieces, one after another. I enjoyed everything so much. It was so great to see some returning friends, welcome some special guests, and have some people who've never read with us before. It was just an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to our beloved audience for tuning in and for sharing your comments. Everybody who read, you got to go see the comments on Facebook and YouTube if you haven't been in there already. One more time, we had David Legere with us, Jolinda Hockaday, Robert Piazza, Susan M. Davis, Erik Schurink, Sarah Balsley, and Michael Dunaway. Go follow them. Go read their work wherever it is published. Go visit their websites and come back next week for.
We got Elizabeth Kirshner and
yes.
Barb Jens. So
yes.
There we go. We got like one former Fumfa person
Yes.
and one special guest.
Yeah. It's going to be great. Have a great night, everyone. And we will see you next Sunday.